Welcome to the 403 Forbidden podcast. In this final episode, our lovely curators, EULA 5, will talk about the affordances of the digital sphere in the curatorial context.
403 Forbidden is a digital exhibition that explores the way identity and ownership are maintained and negotiated in digital spaces. At the apex of the digital revolution, we have become experts at building and curating our online identity, which transcends our physical limitations. As we carefully navigate sensibilities of taste and content, form judgments, and learn from immaterial interactions with one another, we establish our critical consciousness. This agency is a rite of passage. It draws us closer to our two-dimensional avatars and allows us to see beyond the scope of their purely representational function. They are us and we are them. And we are EULA Collective. The overarching theme of our exhibition is ownership online.
Hi, I'm Kalina.
Hi, I'm Neo.
Hi, I'm Razia.
Hi, I'm Candid.
And I'm Nama.
I think while we're talking about privacy and ownership among the virtual platform, we should also be talking about its benefits, to acknowledge that it has never been this easy and efficient during past pandemics in history. The internet has become an inseparable part of most people's lives right now. It is providing such easy ways of accessing resources and maintaining social connections between individuals. The internet is proving to be a powerful tool for people to support one another, especially fundraising. Scientists and researchers are also turning to the internet to share innovative ideas on how to tackle COVID-19 as for now. Many can continue business and school from home thanks to modern technology and commercial cloud solutions. Social media platforms are amongst the most widely used sources of information in the world. The comfortable and inexpensive access to the internet and many registered users in these platforms make them one of the easiest and most effective ways to disseminate information. They have also become helpful for the public to maintain communication with friends and families to reduce isolation and boredom associated with anxiety and long-term distress. But there is the possibility that information transmitted is not current or has not been subjected to peer review, is invalid, incorrect, not applicable to our environment, or even false. So that means we cannot fully trust everything that we learn from the internet. Instead, we need to look at things just like how we look at things daily in our reality critically. Arts activism, traditionally performed offline in this pre-social media era, combines that art's creative and emotional capacity with activist strategy, planning to push for meaningful change in society online. But during the COVID-19 pandemic, arranging protests and political movements in the streets has proven challenging due to social distancing orders and the potential of spreading virus. Macpherson and Maza wrote in their article that digital art can help increase community engagement and political participation. From human rights advocacy to campaigns against discrimination and economy inequality. Hence why a couple of campaigns around the world, such as the hashtag Climate Strike movement initiated by Greta Thunberg, have moved online through social media. The movement has now turned into hashtag Climate Strike Online, where hundreds of social media posts pour in every week. And that is how powerful the internet could be utilized for gathering people from around the world to aim for one goal. Also, artistic posters on Twitter and dance choreography on TikTok have helped increase appeal for the movement among young people worldwide and continue it in a more accessible way.
Yeah, I think this whole idea of art activism is very interesting to me because it kind of is built on a duality. Like it's a two polar opposites. There's the aestheticization of politics and the politicizing of aesthetics. So whereas in the first instance, the aestheticization of politics, it's more of art as a tool of a given totalitarian regime to kind of create propagandistic messages or soften, very strong political restrictions. Politics of aestheticization is more so the opposite of that, how artists are engaging within the conversation with through activist art that's actually meaningful. And I think that video, for example, is an excellent way for engaging in this like COVID-19 climate because of its possibility of it communicating aesthetic values, but also it's a very accessible form. You can say things, you can connect things, it's dynamic, it's interesting, and so on. So I think that's like a very interesting point to make.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. And what you were mentioning, kind of reminds me of, all the civil rights activism that's been happening over the summer, and how you've seen so many of those little like slides and little graphics on Instagram, kind of like, oh, racism explained or whatever, like through these like bite-sized, aesthetically pleasing graphics. And I've seen a few I guess think pieces about that, about how, in a sense it kind of detracts from maybe actual activism, or it detracts from like the actual theory and concepts of them, because you're just kind of like they're made for like the social media platform, they're kind of words,
Mm-hmm.
kind of go in detail. It's kind of just like these little bite-sized things that are shareable. And I even like the TikTok dances, like just like who gets popular on TikTok versus who doesn't, and who gets more exposure, that plays into that. So yeah, I think it's a really interesting point to bring up. So it's like there's definitely like benefits to it of like giving awareness to those issues, but you're also kind of confined and restricted by the platform and their algorithms and how they measure engagement. Because at the end of the day, like Facebook and Twitter and TikTok and whatever don't really care about your activism.
Exactly. I think that social media, in the sense, because of its immateriality to an extent, so it makes sharing and distributing of knowledge easier. But because of its immateriality, a lot of people, I feel, repost something, or get into fights in the comment section of something, and they're like checking off that box mentally, whether they realize it or not, that they're like contributing, and whatever. But at the end of the day, it really comes to also the physicality of the aspect. Like, don't just repost the fact that there's like a food crisis going on, that there's not enough food, that the pandemic has rendered a lot of people incapable of affording a lot of stuff. But you have to like also go out physically and fill the fridges that in Toronto, specifically CF Toronto, TO, I believe their Instagram handle is, have
Block
provided
TO.
for community. Yeah, no, CF
Oh, okay.
203 underscores TO is a project in Toronto that's ongoing. It's a connection of fridges and pantry boxes where it's kind of a mutual aid idea.
Mm-hmm.
You come, you leave food, like a package, fresh fruit, fresh vegetables, tampons, and other household needs, and people come and take whoever needs it, they take. So it's like that kind of idea. But it's, again, like, you need to physically go outside. You need to actually like do the thing, do the action of buying stuff and putting it in there. So like that's like actually the tangible thing to do. And then your social presence and support of it is just connection to it.
Yeah. To echo back what you were talking about, I do think the social media, it's like a double-bladed sword, because especially for like TikTok, Instagram, and for like a younger generation, not all of them are using the platform to be part of the this kind of activities. Like they're just using the hashtag or using the discussion to make themselves popular. So there's like people like going out to the marching and like take photos of themselves and be like, oh, I'm supporting this, but actually they're not. They're just using it. So it's
Yeah.
like, how do you
Yeah.
tell the line behind this kind of like social media posts, and what's the impact that they're doing, and like what they're causing, like influence to even younger generation?
Yeah, exactly. And you put it very well that it's a double-edged sword. I read an article a few years ago. It was featured in Bitch magazine, and it was about social capital. And it was about how, crowdfunding, crowdsourcing, and, like the GoFundMe campaigns for either top surgery or GoFundMe campaigns for cancer treatment and stuff. Those are really good, yes, but they're underlying capital that's associated with it. So someone will have enough following to actually be able to successfully raise funds for this very necessary thing, while other people don't have that capital and therefore do not raise enough funds. And it was example given there was this person who had diabetes, who needed money to purchase their medication,
Mm-hmm.
and unfortunately they were unable to raise it, and before the campaign, even like just before they hit their goal, unfortunately they passed away. So it's like, again, this very necessary thing, this thing that should be provided by governments, is based on how much social capital you have online. So that's kind of like a very pivotal point of how online activism happens too.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, like speaking of that, like let's kind of like just bring back like the benefits of the digital platform. So like all this kind of like movements, their sustainability and its ability to captivate audiences, suggest this artist approaches can be an excellent medium for activism in the digital space, for sure. And digital arts activism has the power to help people channel suffering, trauma, or outrage into persuasive messages. It is definitely a platform that is so open to the public that everyone has access to express and be affected by others' art. So, like what we were talking about earlier about the digital platform being double blade sword. It's just like anything else in the world. You can't really look at it from one side. You have to look at it from both sides, and it's inevitable to have some bad influence within it. But yeah, we just have to also emphasize the good part of it. And I feel like for the curatorial world, many galleries and museums are closed or have capacity limits due to COVID-19, of course. And this situation is forcing people to switch their focus to the internet platform. And ever since the lockdown started, there's like tons of curators and artists started to build their own online space for like a kind of new art experience. And like many institutions have turned to a vast potential of the internet to keep things ticking. One of the first to implement an online exhibition was the Beijing-based X Museum, which has postponed its opening but enlisted artist Pete Jiadongqiang to create a gamified online museum experience. So I quote the artist. He said, "Online exhibitions will have their place in the future, and the epidemic accelerated the process." And he also said, I would rather not have a specific boundary between online and offline, virtual and physical, especially for an emerging contemporary museum in Beijing." I feel like that could apply to all the galleries and museums around the world, because it is also something that's becoming part of our lives, the technology and digitizing everything. So yeah, it's not just galleries and museum, but also art in general. Yeah, and this trend hasn't just come about in relation to the coronavirus. Google Arts and Culture has for many years now been compiling virtual tours of museums around the world. And with that, you can tour over 500 art institutions worldwide. Aside from museums and gallery spaces, do-it-yourself online art exhibitions have been showing up around the world. Curator Polak said, "The beauty of this online exhibition is that it's a global exhibition and it's accessible to everyone. I'm hoping that all of these websites and Instagram accounts link up to each other so that we can really start a global dialogue. Making sure that we have a diverse group of voices is incredibly important to me at this time." I just feel like online exhibition indeed has so much potential and possibilities, especially when it comes to inclusiveness. The internet makes the whole event more global in terms of the participants and reduces the stress for traveling and access in ways.
Yeah, I do agree with you. No, that was an interesting point. And I think in addition to this, the internet and social media expand the possibility of being a curator in different ways. Everyone can curate their own page on Instagram, for example, something which was somehow elite in the past is now accessible for many. This is somehow similar to what happened to painting after photography. The easy way of reproduction of photos, I think.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I mean, I feel like it's also switching the concept or the definition of what a curator is. Because, like, some people, they're investing a lot of energy and time, like, perfecting their Instagram page, and you can also say they're curating their page.
Yeah.
And even for like Tumblrs or like other social media platforms, that's in the past, when you're organizing your page, you're also curating the page. So it's like, how do you like spread the consciousness of actually being involved in art, no matter what platforms you're on? So that's a really interesting point of view. And the practice of staging art exhibition online was once criticized for lacking what German philosopher Walter Benjamin calls an aura of authenticity, a sensory experience that results from an artwork being uniquely present in time and space. But however, social media's growth has helped online exhibition fulfill the basic principles of art, that it should be visible, versatile, suggestive, and transmissible. And the viewing experience is much more enhanced as now artworks can be shown online with high resolution, can be played back, or even played on loop and examined thoroughly and intensively studied by a diverse audience range. So that's like kind of echoing back to the inclusiveness. All that we were talking about, I just feel like that's why we include 3 distinctive artworks created by 3 brilliant artists representing different perspectives and utilizing technology to express themselves through their digital artworks. And we're bringing an online interactive game developed by Julia McVeigh, which allows the user to explore the realness within the digital world and the blurred boundary between real and virtual. And we have a video created by Jaja Zhang, which contains 3D models of physical replicas and is looking to tell a story of self-reflecting and personal understanding of her own philosophy. And we're also introducing a digital painting done by Jen Liv, where she aims to portray herself in the digital realm and discuss the choice between virtual and physical body in the digital age.
This is the end of the podcast. Thanks for tuning in.